Okay, we'll go ahead and get started. It's called the Facilities Committee, St. Joseph School District to order. We're going to go around and do some introductions. I first of all wanted just to state that the two board members that are chair of this committee, one of them is not here yet. I guess he went to TMC. But Rick Gilmore actually is the chair of the Facilities Committee. And then Phil Vandal is the assistant chair. And so I just wanted to make note of that moving forward. You know, if I'm not running the meeting, one of those two will be. So just so you kind of have an idea. There he is, right there. So we'll just go around the room and just introduce ourselves. There's a lot of new faces to me, so I'm sure it's new faces to each one of you as well. So I'm Dave Edgar. I'm the superintendent of schools here in St. Joseph.
I'm Josh Bryan. I'm Carson. I've heard we go over kids or whatever.
What kind of cars? Yeah.
I sell Chevys and Chevy accessories.
Rick Gilmore, I'm one of the board members.
Don Baker, I'm the board secretary.
My name's Dave Hine. I'm an investment advisor and also on the Vision Forward team.
Leslie Lotsky, have two kiddos in the district. I'm a product of the district, love the district.
Kyle Philcoat, I've graduated Lafayette, Phil, and have kids in the district and all that kind of stuff.
I'm Phil Vandal, I'm one of the governors.
Eileen Houston Stewart, Director of Communications for the district. Lisa Forsyth here. Ashley McGinnis, I'm the Assistant Superintendent of Academic Services.
Marcus Glenn, St. Joseph Youth Trust.
Jeff Leake, teach Lafayette High School, product in the district, have 3 children in the district.
Taylor Jaffa, the Director of Special Programs, also have had 3 children come back through the district.
Kim Miller, school board.
Wendy Lanning, I'm the Executive Director of Media Action Partnership. I have a 5th grader that goes to field and I drive a Chevy.
I'm Latanya Williams. I'm the Vice President of School Board, and I have raised 3 children in the district.
I'm Kenitha Weekmeyer. I'm a retired St. Joseph School District teacher, and my daughter's a teacher in the district. My grandchildren pick up.
Kevin Kelly with Lifeline Foods, and I just lost a school district pupil to Missouri Western, but I'm still here.
Dave Foster, President of the St. Joseph School District Board of Education.
So I want to thank you each for being here. Today's meeting will be somewhat short, but I do think that there will be a lot of discussions that will come to the forefront over the next year and a half in regards to facilities here in the St. Joseph School District. As you know, we do have a process going on called Vision Forward, and it's coming to the conclusion. Tonight we have a meeting at the Word of Life Church from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. And then next month we have another meeting on October 18th at Word of Life Church from 6 to 8 p.m. And then that will be it for the Vision Forward process. What will happen after that will be administratively, we'll be taking a recommendation from the Vision Forward process to the Board of Education in December. And so how can I see? We wanted to make sure that from the committee standpoint that we weren't going in 2 different directions, that we weren't driving 2 different buses, one going north and one going south. And so we're going to try to do the best we can to bring everything together. So with that being said, like I mentioned, the meeting I think today will be kind of short. We'll kind of get a definition of what Vision Forward is saying tonight. So that will be a topic of discussion at our next facilities meeting in October. And then I would assume that this group could help us with the administrative recommendation. At the end of the day, I think what we're looking for is some sort of 5-year plan on facilities. I had presented some information to a few of the board members. I think Rick and Phil and David have all seen a 5-year plan that I borrowed from North Kansas City High School. They were kind of in a similar boat to us, so to speak. And They're just following that 5-year plan. And so the recommendation of Vision Forward, there were a couple recommendations, and I'm just gonna not necessarily throw Vision Forward under the bus, but I'm gonna say this. There was a lot of recommendations that were, you need to do this study, and you need to do that study, and I think Dave can speak to that, and Mr. Foster can speak to that. All those studies are in place. We have all of that information. We have a demographic study. Our demographics haven't changed that much since the last time we did it. We have enough information with DLR to probably put together a 5-year plan. And so instead of going out and reinventing the wheel and trying things over again, I think it's probably advantageous for us as a school district to see what we have and try to put that information together. So that's what this committee will help do as well. So that's kind of the first thing on the agenda is a 5-year plan. I think it's important that we have some kind of plan. And just so you know, there is no plan as of right now. I know that there's a lot of people that are asking questions in regards to, is there something on the ballot in April of 23? If there is, the superintendent doesn't know about it. And with that being said, I do think time is of essence for the St. Joe School District. Our number one priority right now is to fix academics. And facilities is part of that. It's a way, it's an avenue, it's those types of things. But in order for us to change St. Joseph School District, we have to offer better education. Simple as that. And that's what we're going to do. And that's one of our main goals for 22-23. Not that we can't talk about facilities, but I just kind of wanted to put that out there. You know, the Board of Education asked me to present them with some goals at the meeting on the 26th for them to approve. All of my goals are wrapped around academics. Number 1 being attendance, number 2 being discipline, and number 3 being the dropout issue that we're facing here in St. Joseph School District. So, that's my speech, I guess, so to speak. But that's where we're at, and that's what we're going to ask for from this group, is to help us define a 5-year plan. I don't know what that looks like. You know, you hear people talk about 2 high schools, you hear people talk about closing elementary schools, you hear people talk about a new middle school, and we have a lot of problems. There's no doubt about it. And I'm not going to sit here and make excuses for those problems. Do we need to define what education means in grades 6 through 8? Absolutely, we do. We don't need buildings in 7, 8, and we don't need buildings 6, 8. So middle school is a problem. So I need your guys' help as to where to start, how to define those types of things, and what you see for that. So I'm going to, I'll ask Phil or Rick if they have anything to say in regards to the 5-year plan, or anybody else that wants. I mean, you guys feel like a plan is in orders. We're going to have something to follow, correct?
Now, Phil and Gabe and I had a quick little meeting last Friday and talked about having this facilities meeting today, and I felt like we shouldn't really come up with any proposals or any ideas until we get the finished product from the Vision Forward Committee. I don't want to say something or do something that wouldn't square with them. You know, we built a better rapport with the citizenship of St. Joe. We had a 71% in favor of continuing our levy in the election, and I feel like that we're building a good relationship with the community to where they can trust and they can believe what we have to say. And so I would prefer to wait until we get a recommendation from the Vision Forward Committee to make any kind of statement on what direction we're going as far as buildings. But like Gabe said, you know, academics is another story, and that's not a part of facilities. So,
you know, one thing that I would ask of you guys today, from what I can do instead of waiting on Vision Forward to provide us with a recommendation, I can go out, I can gather the information that we need for a 5-year plan. As seeing what North Kansas City had, I thought it was a good And I can ask him if he has that like in a document where I can send to this group, so you guys can see exactly where they start and where they're finishing. I can talk to DLR, I can find out where we're at to make sure we're not gonna have to spend a whole lot of money on this, what the specifics are behind building that. That was kind of what I thought I could do over the between now and the next meeting. Let's take a look at that.
Gabe, can you share that data, going back 2 years, and just refresh it? We had some pretty big database and data that we had with the facilities committee formally, and I'm sharing that again, it's not gonna change a whole lot. I mean, it just hasn't.
So I have that, and I can share that with everybody in this
It'd be
room.
helpful.
The demographic study, I will tell you, is 2019. I believe it's October of 2019. And then the DLR information is going to be 19 carried over into 20. So that's really going to be, but I do. I'll go back and Donna and I can get all that information. We'll just send it all to you. Because I think that's what we can work off of. Like I said, the stuff hasn't changed a whole lot. Our problems are still in the places where our problems were in 2019. They're going to continue to be our problems. And instead of sitting around talking about it, we need to figure out a plan to fix those problems.
And just to tag on that too, when we went through this a couple of years ago, we need money for the academics. I mean, Dr. Edgar's 3 priorities are priorities. And I don't think this community wants to get any more tax dollars. I don't think they want to be taxed anymore. And there is a pot of money here in running facilities that there's money to be gained without having to go to the community for additional taxes. It's running the right amount of facilities. We have too many buildings, folks. I'm not going to get into which ones need to go or what refurbished, but there is money here to handle academics if we handle facilities. It's there. And it just requires getting the community to stop being territorial and no changers and have a little bit more open mind. But we don't need a tax. We could just, through the savings, fund a lot of Dr. Edgar's priorities, in my opinion.
That's correct, I agree.
When you write all this, like, if we get all the data and everything, and you said you're gonna get something from North
Kansas City, I do have something already.
I've got that, I was gonna bring that back to you, I've got it in my car, but I think that's a little too complex of a.
Well, it is, yeah, but it is a guide, and I think I was just looking for the guide purposes.
Yeah, I think we need to simplify it a little bit.
Yes.
Yeah, it was very, very detailed what they
Yeah.
did, which is good. They left no rock unturned, but
Yeah.
I'd just like to be able to look at it at a couple, I've never run a school district or built anything more than a deck, so I'd just like to be able to look at it, like run it and do something.
But I think the data would probably be good.
I'd like also the ability to ask for additional data in certain areas. I do agree, and I've been on facilities committees for a long time, I do agree there is a much more efficient way to use our facilities, but also I'm afraid of certain assumptions like that by consolidating, let's say, elementary schools, we actually save money. I mean, logically, at first it sounds like that. We need one fewer principal or one fewer nurse. But, you know, when we create the larger schools, we're also, is that being taken over by additional behavior interventionists that we have, or attendance people that we have, or even just the performance and attendance? I'd like to see the data of the schools that we've closed, where those students have went, how their attendance, how their performance has been in the homes or in the original school versus the new school, and how that has worked over time. I mean, if we're talking about major things, I just like to exhaust every possible question.
And I think it's pretty obvious. That's why I made the comment about the demographics from 2019. It's not a secret. You can see where they're all going. They're all going to the south end. Hosey is busting at the seams, which is unacceptable. We did move 49 students out of Hosey this year to high, but we're right back to that same number again. Not quite, but we're gonna get there. And so you're right. I mean, I think we do have to identify what pockets and make sure that as we talk about those types of things, there's a lot of different factors that have to go into that.
I think we did identify in the past with consolidation, if we followed a plan that we had in the past, we could save $5 to $8 million a year.
I guess my fear is that, or one thing I'd like to test is our short-term gain going to cost us more 2, 4, 6, 10 years down the line.
Well,
That's
and
fine.
if you're saving money on the facilities, but you have the Humboldt Lindbergh where you have so many needs of those kids and staff that are just so stressed out because of the behaviors that they're dealing with.
Well, and I will tell you that's why we, as an educational team, feel like we have to fix that stuff first. Because until you fix that, it doesn't make any difference if you close down a school, it doesn't make any difference if you have a brand new school. None of that matters unless you fix what is inside of those buildings right now. We have a pretty good plan in place, we feel, and a lot of that stuff's going to be rolled out in the academics committee over the next couple of months.
Has there been any discussion of redistricting? I'm thinking primarily Lindbergh, as crowded as it is, since you brought that up. There are a couple other grade schools that are close that could. Has that been brought up about redistricting?
Yes, I mean, I think that definitely is, it needs to be a topic of conversation, but what I would say to that is that you need to identify a plan first, because you don't want to change boundaries and then come back and
Absolutely.
do something else and change boundaries a year and a half later. So it's all part of the equation.
And I agree with not doing another expensive plan. Use what we've got. We've all seen that several times in the past. So, okay.
Yeah, good question.
But you're right, the amount of money you can save by closing a single building is a lot, especially when it's an old building, because they require more upkeep, more maintenance. But it doesn't mean we should, it just means that we have to be looking at every one of those options and weighing it all out, you know, so looking at it from both sides. Yeah, you can save, say you save $1 million to shut down a building on just the cost of running HVAC and electricity and all the expense that goes into running a building, but again, if it's costing you in terms of academics, which is our #1 priority right now, then that doesn't make sense. But
And it's hard, it's hard because you identify those schools and then you look and they're the top performing school, or something along those lines. And you're like, well, and there's inequities across the district. There's just a lot of different factors that have to play into that. Like I mentioned it before, I appreciate everybody's opinion and this is the kind of conversation that needs to take place. So I think what I'll do from a 5-year plan is just send out the information to you so you guys have the data, the demographic study, the data that I have received from DLR, have a conversation with them, and then bring back some information at the October meeting or November meeting. October, I guess this is September, right? I don't even know what. At the October facilities meeting for that piece of it. That's okay.
And will those reports have building locations and size, like enrollment size at each location?
Yeah, that's what we have. The demographic study will have exactly how many kids. Now, like I said, it's going to be 2019, but it looks the same.
Okay.
We were still busting at the seams at Hosea, still busting at the seams at Lindbergh. That's still true today. We were still losing kids at Pickett. We were still losing kids at Purdy. That's still true today. A lot of that stuff, as I looked at, I pulled some of it up just to look through, and it's very similar. It's very similar. Any other questions or comments in regards to that?
I want to put a plug in for Vision Forward meeting tonight. Please be there, come. We're going to be presenting kind of the findings that we've had in our priority list tonight. Would love for your input. There'll be a time to work with people at your table. There'll be some questions for us to answer, and just the more input that we can get as far as kind of tweaking this plan and our priorities, the better off it will be. I do think that some of the things that we've been talking about with Vision Forward might drive some of the facilities issues. I mean, we're probably going to have to look at that and what some of these priorities are, and that might kind of affect the decisions that we make here. But I would just encourage everybody to come if you can tonight at 6 o'clock at Word of Life.
One other thing, I think that in regards to the facilities in themselves, the middle schools are pretty consistent right now. They're all about the same size, right? I mean, two of them just a little bit bigger than the other two.
Truman and Bodie are a little bit bigger than Rubidoux and Spring Garden.
But it's not too bad, so the middle school is trending okay. And then, of course, the high schools, you have about 650 in the two Lafayette and Benton, and about 1,700 at Central, just to kind of provide those background numbers for you. The good thing is, we don't know this yet, but September 27th, 28th, next Wednesday, is the official count day for the state of Missouri. And we're hopeful that our attendance is pretty good, or our numbers are pretty good. They're a lot better than we anticipated they were going to be. So that's a good thing. That's a good thing. Because we were in a, since this is just started my 5th year, and we were close to losing 1,000 kids just in the 5 years that I was here, district-wide. And so hopefully we have leveled that off a little bit, which that's obviously going to drive a lot of the conversation too, so I figured I would just make note of that. Okay, the third thing on the agenda is early childhood. Obviously, DLO's with us today as well, and I'll let her chime in if she would like. Early childhood is a priority, a #1 priority of our school district right now. We have to touch the lives of those students as early as we can, period. We have a good thing going on down at Lake. We feel like it's been very, very beneficial for the student population. The Board of Education is 100% behind early learning right now. One thing, the issue that we're facing is we need to touch a lot more lives than we're touching. And so, that challenge being said, how do you do that? So I just wanted to kind of make the announcement today that I am working with the City of St. Joseph to put a little bit of pressure on the North Belt Kmart owners. That facility is right in the middle of town. We will be taking a trip to North Kansas City, Phil and I and Rick and somebody from DLO's staff the next couple of weeks. I think it's the 19th of October actually, to look at what they did. They bought a whole strip mall with an entire block in North Kansas City, and they turned it into they started with their early learning facility, so they have a central location for every student, 18,700 students in North Kansas City School District, and they have one central location for early learning. They're also putting their technology center there, and they have another facility there that they're building on right now. It's awesome, but like I said, it's a whole block long. But, I went to the mayor just 10 days ago, and I said, Mayor, what are we doing? I drive by North Belt Kmart every day, and you just look at it and you're like, there's a lot of good things going on in this community right around there, and it's falling in. You can't even pull in the parking lot without bottoming out in your car. And so if we could get that, at a cheap price, I think that's a central location. That's a location where you could house every single student as far as early learning is concerned. But we can't afford to pay $7, $8 million, $10 million, or whatever they want for that building. We're not going to do that because it's not worth it. It's not. But why does the company want to sit there? And I just don't understand all of that. So I don't know who's working with the mayor, but he is. I just had lunch with him today at Missouri Western, and I told him I was going to name drop him. He said that was okay. A lot of people do that. But anyway, they are working on that. I just wanted to make that announcement. We have to do something. We have to expand our offerings. DLO, do you want to speak to that at all?
Just really on the expansion piece, that the majority of the classes that we have are early childhood special education classes. And we know that we have a whole lot of students in our community that could benefit from early childhood education that are not identified as special education students. So we have a total of 5 classrooms down there that are title classrooms out of the 19. The other 14 classrooms are early childhood special education classrooms. So the way to increase our offerings would be have more classes that were not early childhood special ed. So we are out of space down there at Lake for adding additional classrooms. We utilize every single space down there, even though that space has been amazing and we love it down there for our early childhood special ed and our title, because all of our therapies can be in one location, and that was the benefit. If you guys remember, those of you that were here when we consolidated to one location, that's why we'd like to replicate that, but we would like to expand and be able to offer to all of our other students. So, too. Yes?
You would keep the
2 locations then, or close the other one?
We are not that far, we're just kind of in the planning stages, so we have not gotten that far. As far as, we don't even know if we can get a second location, and if we can get a location, what we could house in there. So we just know we're at capacity right now at that building.
Oh, I know, I saw.
Yeah.
That building, the Kmart building is about 66,000 square feet. And that's not including the Dollar General. And I'm not sure, obviously it's not near as big, but the same outfit owns the Kmart and the Dollar General, and I believe they also own the other building that runs.
Oh, yeah. It's not looking good either.
Right, right. So, anyway.
So you may have said, how many students do you think we could house in that? You said 66,000 square feet?
I am not sure. We have not gone that far. I would have to. I know 2 years ago, I did go down to North Kansas City and tour that, and that was so exciting to think the possibilities someday, that maybe we could have something similar to that here, because it would be so much larger and we could expand. But I don't know how many students that I would have to,
And we could get that.
drawing and all that.
We can get all that information whenever we go on the 19th. Their early learning is 200,000 square feet.
Okay, that gives me some perspective. Yeah, I had no idea the size comparison.
So it's about 3 times what we're looking at, but they're also twice as big as we are.
Is the demand is much bigger than the supply?
Yes.
Right, and I will tell you that this doesn't only fix the problem. If you look at it, one thing that I see going on in this community right now is there's a lot of moving parts working together. The city of St. Joseph, the school district, Missouri Western, a lot of the business communities, the Chamber of Commerce, a lot of the businesses. And with that being said, childcare is one of the biggest issues that everybody faces right now. And if we can offer education for 3 and 4-year-olds, we're taking care of some of those childcare issues. So it doesn't only help us, it's going to help a lot of different entities. And so I think we have to look at it globally, not just from a selfish St. Joseph School District standpoint, but we need to be the center of this community in order to be successful. And so we need to think outside the box on how to become the center of the community. And nobody's going to be against early childhood education. If they are, then they don't know anything about education. So, anyway, that's mine.
I have one other thing I was going to add. So when we look at space, so currently our program is a half day. So keep that in mind. So we're seeing if we wanted to expand to a full day program, which a lot of school districts have full day early childhood preschool, then we would, just with our current numbers, need double the amount of space. Does that make sense?
Sure.
So when we have looked at different options to better serve our students, and one of the ways to help prepare them for kindergarten, because we have such a jump from having a half-day program to then go to kindergarten that's full day with larger numbers and such, we would benefit in some options, maybe not for everyone, but for some of our classrooms to be able to have a full day. But we would just need more space, because in order to do that right now, we would have to turn away more students, and we don't want to do that.
What kind of questions do you guys have in regards to that?
Oh, come on, nobody has questions.
That's a great idea.
It's good.
We serve on the United Way board together. We've been to a lot of meetings, and we kind of talk about this kind of thing, and somebody needs to kind of step up to the plate a little bit, so this is an opportunity for us as somebody in town to step up to the plate and help out.
I think pursue it every bit you can. Early childhood care is such a difficult thing to find in this community. And again, I've said this many times in board meetings and stuff, but the one thing people like better than saving their money is getting something good for their money,
right?
And I think this is something good for everyone's money, because even people with kids out of school have grandkids and such. I think that should be probably number one thing to pursue right now. is pushing
And then one thing that I would tell you too, the last thing is you sit there, I mean, you talk about $20 million or $15 million, where's this guy coming up with this, you know? We do have, right now, on a no tax increase basis, we have about $70 million, which is gonna grow, you know, before the next time we would happen to run something. You do have to put no tax increase on the ballot, but just so you know, we have about $70 million that we can spend at no expense to the taxpayers.
Are we still talking about the Kmart facility?
Yeah.
How many acres of ground is with that?
Well, it's 60,000 square feet.
Is the building?
Yeah, and then it has a Dollar General and it has that other building going this way. And I think it just goes back, is there a ditch right behind it?
But is there 10 acres there then? Is that what it is, or?
You know, I don't know. I'd have to ask the mayor that.
lot's huge.
Yeah, I mean, to me, you ought to almost be able to buy that for what the dirt's worth. You know, which isn't cheap.
Build highway property.
Yeah, 250,000 an acre probably, you know.
Build highway property, you own some of that, Rick, you know what that costs.
Well, it's worth at least $250,000 an acre, you know. So you got 10 acres there, you got $2.5 million worth of dirt, you know. And hell, the parking lot's wore out, the building's wore out, it doesn't worth nothing.
Well, and I think that's what, you know, that's my, you know, I was thinking too logically probably, but that's why I went to them and said, can't you put pressure on these people? What do they want? Why do you want it?
Yeah. To me.
As a write-off?
Yeah, I don't know.
Why would you keep?
I don't know what.
I agree. I think it's a great question to ask, and it's a great thing to pursue. I
told him, I said, I'll call him up.
Yeah.
Let me talk to him.
I'd say you're looking at the
Absolutely.
maximum.
No, you just settle down. I said, okay.
About $4 million, I would say, Gabe, is about what that property is worth.
Well, I will say
It's
that
not my property though.
Did I mention what North Kansas City had in his? $22 million is all he has tied up in it. 200,000 square feet. So the renovation piece is, I couldn't believe how cheap it was whenever he told me that. I was like, what?
That's crazy.
You'd have to see it. You're just like,
It's
oh,
amazing.
It's $22 million.
That's cool.
I just inspected a building right over close to that North
Did you?
Walmart, a very large building. The raccoon infestation alone might be worth looking at. That was enough to get that building condemned.
Too bad it's not 15 years ago, we make some money off of scrapping it.
That's very
Pay for the bill.
They collapsed every ceiling in it.
Yeah,
It's 14.78 acres.
14.78. A lot bigger than I thought.
So in regards to this facility, would you have in mind, Bill, do you think that we can house everything that we house at the facility in South End, at that facility, or a second location regardless of where it would be?
I don't know what the square footage of Lake is, to be honest, to be able to kind of look at our space. So I would have to do a comparison of how many classrooms and what we could get in 60,000 square feet.
Well, I'm only
The drawing.
saying that because we had mentioned before, somewhere maybe downtown or a different location, but it wouldn't have, all of the occupational therapy, physical therapy, speech.
Ideally, I would love to see one large center. I just don't know until we were to see that and what the possibilities are as far as drawing out the space and things like that, if that's even a possibility to fit, how many classrooms we could fit in there, because we're just beginning to talk about it.
It just makes more sense in order to move everything to the new location. If we're able to not keep kids in the old location, and they're not gonna be able to get offered everything that's in the new location.
That scene would be more centralized.
Even though it's
too.
not our location yet, in my mind, it's gonna happen.
We can be right
But there's
there
no,
fast.
at 14.7 acres, there's no way that if that was the plan to put everybody at that central location, you could make that happen.
You could build it out.
Easy.
Yeah.
But you get the old Palmas building, you could put a restaurant in there, Gabe.
Get the whole.
It's a possibility. It's a possibility.
Square pizza.
Gabe's
Square pizza and corn on Friday.
Gabe's Place.
Starbucks in the parking lot.
Starbucks in the parking lot. That's what you need.
My goal is.
Any other questions in regards to that? Okay, well, I know that, first of all, I thank you for your time, and I know that wasn't a whole lot. We will gather all the information that we have in regards to demographic studies, the plans that we have, we'll send that to you. If you're not on the committee and you want that information, make sure that Donna has your email address before you leave. We'll do some work between now and the next meeting. Motion to adjourn?
I make motion.
All right, thanks, guys.
Yeah, that's successful.
Yeah.